Thousands of Centrify Identity Service customers are already reducing the risks associated with password-based login using their mobile devices as a second authentication factor. This is a shared service built into our Centrify Identity platform, and so now the Centrify Server Suite can enjoy enhanced security using the same multi-factor authentication and step-up capabilities. There's basically two use cases here. One is as part of the login process, so that users who are attempting to log in through PAM applications are asked to provide a second form of authentication before they're granted access. The second use case is part of reauthentication, when they're already logged in, but if they attempt to elevate privileges or if they're in a restricted shell, they can be asked to provide a second authentication factor. So let's take a look at both of these features with a demonstration. I'm an IT administrator enjoying an espresso in my local coffee shop, and I'm logged into my Centrify Privilege Service portal. I'm going to click on a tile that will allow me to remotely log into a CentOS server in the data center. So I click on the tile and note that my session window popped up without the need to establish a VPN connection. That's a capability of the Centrify Privilege Service. So once my ID and password is entered, immediately you should see on the screen, I'm being asked to enter a second authentication factor. I'm going to select email for this one. So an email notification should pop up imminently, and there it is. So I'll click on that, open up the mail message, and I'll click on the link to verify that I'm the person requesting login. Now clearly if I'm an attacker or a bot, my attempt will fail at this point. There we have successful authentication. So let's hit return just to complete the process. Great, now I'm logged in. So I've demonstrated the first use case, which is MFA during login. Let's move to the second use case. With Centrify Server Suite, you're already familiar with its privileged elevation capabilities. So for example, I'm unable to restart the web server with the minimum privileges I have. However, I have a Centrify role allowing me to elevate privileges and run that command. And the web service is now restarted successfully. Again, that's the typical Server Suite MO. Let's look at another command, VIPW, to edit the password file. Similarly, I can't run this with least privileges, so I'll try to elevate using DZ-do. Now here I'm being prompted for a second factor because we've set a policy that establishes VIPW as a more privileged command requiring a step-up authentication. I selected number 2, which is to answer the security question, and now I'm being given access to edit the file. So let's see how this demonstration was configured. For MFA, the configuration is done partly in the Centrify Server Suite and partly in the Centrify Cloud. It's the Server Suite that governs the login and elevation rights for our demo user, but the Server Suite talks to the Centrify Cloud to confirm what second factors to use and to verify those second factors. So let's begin in the Server Suite. In this demo, we have a very simple configuration with just a single zone. Let's navigate down to the authorization section where we have various rights, roles, and role assignments defined. In Unix right definitions, we've defined a command right for our VIPW command. Now if I open that up, you'll see the command itself, VIPW. Run as root, and in the Attributes tab, we will re-authenticate requiring multi-factor. Okay, let's now go to the role definitions. Here in role definitions, we have two roles relevant to our demo. One is for MFA during elevation. This applies when we're running the VIPW command using DZ-do. The other is MFA during login. Let's look at the login role first. In the System Rights tab, you'll see we have the Require Multi-Factor Authentication box checked. So members of this role will be prompted for a second factor during login. Now contrast this to the elevation role. For our demo, we're not interested in MFA during login, so that's not checked. Instead, we want to prompt for multi-factor when specific commands are run with DZ-do. So you'll see here on the right, the elevation role has the MFA_VIPW right assigned to it. Now for role assignments. With the 2 roles and the single right configured, we can assign this role to our user. Here, if I search for the MFA_login role, you'll see it assigned to the Acme Consultants user. And if I search for Elevation, you'll see that role assigned to the same user. So that's how we configured the server suite to prompt for a second factor. So how did we set up the kinds of second factor available for both login and during elevation for this user? Well, as mentioned earlier, that was done in the Centrify cloud. Let's move to that now. So here I'm logged into the Cloud Manager as an administrator. In Settings and Server Suite Authentication, this is where we configured our authentication profiles for server authentication or login and for privilege elevation. Let's go to the authentication profile setting and take a look first at the login profile I created. Here you see the various 2 factors available. For login, I give the user 4 different options. However, if you cast your mind back to the demo, only 3 were presented. This is because I haven't enrolled a mobile phone, so Centrify didn't present the mobile authenticator option. For the elevation profile, I only selected 2 options. So you can see we have the flexibility of different authentication factors and 1 or 2 challenges if our security requirements demand. The final step is to give our computer, the CentOS box, server login and privilege elevation rights. So in the Roles tab, if we take a look at our Server MFA for CSS role, you'll see we've given members of this role the server login and privilege elevation right. In the Members section, we could have specified individual servers, but we've added an AD security group called Monty_MFA_computers. Our CentOS box is a member of this group. So that's how we configured the Centrify Server Suite and the Centrify Cloud Service to support multi-factor authentication for login and for privilege elevation.